All right, Rick, it's playoff time. Postseason kicks off on Thursday when Crockett goes up to Lake Travis. Lots of good teams in this area. How many do you think will be celebrating the state championship come late December?
Well, Danny, I don't want to be Scrooge or anything like that, but I'm only going to pick one, and that's Lake Travis. As you know, they've won 4 in a row. They've won 2 state championships. I'd be very surprised if they don't win a third. With that said, I'm pulling for Stony Point, I'm pulling for Belton, I'm pulling for Pflugerville, I'm pulling for Westlake, I'm pulling for McCallum and all the local schools to do well. I just think there are too many top-notch schools in the Class 5A and Class 3A especially at the very top and other places where it's going to prevent Central Texas from winning more. I hope for more, I'm guessing one.
And during our preseason countdown, I said Gideon's and Stony Point were my favorites to win state championships. Both teams have losses on the season, but neither team has really done enough to make me not believe that they can make a run at state championships. So I'm going to stick with those two. I'm going to obviously add Lake Travis to the mix because I think they're the easiest pick out of all of them with the way they've been playing. So I'm going to say 3. Maybe I'm being a little bit optimistic, but
nothing wrong with that.
That's my pick. All right, lots of first round matchups that are worth watching. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to Bowie against San Antonio Roosevelt. Both teams had to win late, and I mean late, to get in. They had to get on hot streaks late. Bowie, of course, won their big game the other day. Roosevelt, they beat Smithson Valley to get into the playoffs, and it's Smithson Valley's first time since 1995 not to be in the playoffs, so that's the very hot team from San Antonio. So them against Bowie should be a good one.
I'm going to go with New Braunfels Bastrop. Bastrop has been one of those teams where we're not really sure exactly what they're about. They went 9-1, but towards the end of the season they won a lot of close games. The Austin High game was a little bit disappointing. They did lose last week to Bowie, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of grab that momentum they had at the beginning of the season and apply it to the playoffs and ride Josiah Monroe and Austin Shipley in that game for a deep playoff run. Because if they can get past New Braunfels, they can easily get to the quarterfinals because the next couple of rounds are not as tough as their Bi-district round. In New Braunfels, they've been playing pretty well. They came out of a tough district, kind of had to rally late to get in the playoffs, but it should be a pretty good game. Talked about Bastrop, talked about Bowie, a lot of teams. Which team do you think might surprise some people this year?
I think it might surprise people. Pflugerville is my pick. Remember a few years ago they went all the way to the state finals and no one expected them then. They've been a hot team lately. They had a slow start, especially in the middle of the season. They got cold when they had some injuries. They got fantastic running backs. Sammy Flowers, as you know, is an outstanding running back. Julian Ward, an outstanding running back. They're in Region 4, which theoretically or in the past has been the weaker of the districts. Don't be surprised if Pflugerville gets on a hot streak and makes it several rounds.
I'm going to go with Westwood. Westwood's been kind of this team for the past couple of years that they've had a lot of talent, but they haven't really applied it, well. They got in the playoffs this year. Midway through the season, they got their butts kicked by Stony Point. Stony Point just ran all over them. But since that loss, Westwood has been arguably maybe one of the better teams in the district. Knocked off Cedar Park a couple weeks ago in a huge win. So if Princeton Collins can do what he's been doing, Ben Johnson has developed very nicely at quarterback for them. And if it's a close game, comes down to the last couple minutes, we already know that Westwood has probably the best kicker in the state with Jordan Williamson. So they can easily win a couple games. Maybe have a Stony Point Westwood rematch in the state quarterfinals, I guess it would be. What player do you think is going to make a name for himself this postseason?
I think the player, he should have made a name for himself by now. Connor Floyd, he's the wide receiver at Lake Travis. He's one of the best wide receivers in the area. He doesn't get as much publicity as his quarterback, obviously. Michael Brewer's had such a great year. And Andy Erickson, who's just been a spark plug at the flex position all year long. But he's a good, tall, 6'1", rangy, sure-handed guy. 49 catches for almost 1,000 yards. You talk about people that went under the radar. This guy's going to go over the radar in the playoffs.
I'm going to go up to Burnett. We all know about Burnett quarterbacks in the postseason. We all know about Steve McGee a couple years ago, but I'm going with Dylan Chapin this year. Burnett's been looking really good this year. They've had 2 tough losses, but one of the losses they pretty much gave away. Second loss, Chapin was injured for part of it, so not really sure how good this team is going to be if they're there for an entire game. But Chapin, 2 games already this season, he's thrown for 6 touchdowns in a game, so that's pretty impressive. He might be able to lead the Bulldogs back to that promised land that McGee and Shipley led them to back in 2002 and 2003. Last question. Of course, we have TAPS playoffs this year too. Which TAPS team do you think is going to, make a lot of noise, maybe win a state championship this year?
Well, I got a feeling we're going to probably agree on one, and that's St. Michael's, 10-0. You can't argue with that record, and most of their wins have been pretty lopsided. St. Michael's is my pick. I like Regions too, but as far as going all the way, I think St. Michael's. McNamara has been a great quarterback. He's been, from day one, he's been their leader. Good coaching. I think they're strong.
Regents was a bit of a surprise last year. I'm going to the state championship game, but I'm going to go with St. Michael's too. They have some D1 talent on that squad, and I think if you put them in one of the 4A districts, our local 4A districts, they'd probably win 26 4A. It might be the second or third team out of 25 4A behind Lake Travis. So I think they have a lot of talent. They should be able to ride that to a state championship. All right, that's our playoff preview. Check back with us next week as we break down the area round of the playoffs.